Hey everybody, welcome to episode 104 of It's Just Bodybuilding. Scott McNally, Dusty Hanshaw, myself, Big Ron Partlow. On today's show, we have some YouTube questions, not just Instagram stuff, so we're going to try something different, have some fun on It's Just Bodybuilding. Hey, like, share, subscribe, comment.
Ring the bell.
Nice.
Ring the bell.
Good job.
Okay, there you go. I like that. That's fun. That's a fun little moment, you know?
I'm going to go
Everyone
now.
has to have one.
My whole reason of being here is done.
You did your thing.
So how much is Red Bull paying you, Dusty?
Not enough, you know? They should be giving me money because nobody drinks this terrible shit but me.
It is the worst tasting energy drink. You realize that.
Well, it also has no energy. There's like 3 grams of milligrams of caffeine in this, tops. You know what it is when I was bouncing back in the day, I would drink them at night because I was bored. So it's like reminiscing. Every time I have one, I'm like, I remember drinking 100 of these for free and then punching people. It's delicious.
You don't really think about where your sleep disorders came from, do you?
I don't know why I can't sleep.
Wild. Yeah, this is very weird.
Yeah,
weird
ever since I was a young man, I don't sleep well. Consuming a gram of caffeine every night.
I just
keep
keep
years and years going to see specialists, going for sleep studies. They're like, man, we just can't figure you out. He's just drinking Red Bull all night.
While I was talking to the specialist, I'm like, I don't know, dude. You got me.
There's something wrong with me. I think my brain is broken.
Between that and the constant, I was like, I don't know, man. I can't sleep.
Right. Yeah. Can't stop talking either. So, Dusty, how are you doing? What's going on in your life? I see you free barbell pressing on the incline. So that must mean that you're feeling stable.
Well, actually, I had no idea what it was going to be, but I decided I was starting with JP today. So that's the first push. I was like, well, fuck, here we go. I started, just to give you an idea of how much I was unsure, I started with 95 pounds. I was like, we'll do a quarter on each side. Just see. Then I did a plate, and I was like, okay, not bad. 225 was actually a little bit heavy as a warm-up, so I was like, all right, 275 is the number. I was happy, though. I got 9, and the rep range was 5 to 9, so I was like, that was good. Plus, I know how it's been working lately. When I get back to this in 9 days, I'll be at 315 probably, you know?
Yeah, that'll be really interesting because, I mean, everyone who's come back from an injury or even just like a bad sickness, like if you actually are out of the gym for a full week or, you know, Scott's COVID bout or whatever, you know that there's no gains that are as fast as an old exercise that you're getting back.
Yeah.
Those are like the fastest gains you get. You know, if you haven't done seated dumbbell presses for like 5 years and you start doing them again, it's like 3 weeks into seated dumbbell presses, you're up like, 40 pounds of dumbbell. And it's like, it's all fun and games. And you keep telling yourself, this is never going to stop.
Yeah. It's the same as that post show where you're eating more and more and staying lean until one day you're fat.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like the other night
I felt good, you know.
The other night I did some shooting for Mutant. They just needed a bunch of like, kind of cool photos for ads, that look like you're training hard. Remember, success is when people pay you to pretend to train.
That is the next level.
So remember that. We went in and we went in after hours when the gym was shut because the lighting is so awesome when it's dark out, right? It's just perfect. So, and I did a bunch of simulated shots, like I put decent, like, okay weights up, but I just like made it look real good for the pictures, And I haven't been squatting. Like I hurt my back a couple of times last year, and then for Braden's off season, we just focused on hacks, and I just haven't been squatting. But they wanted some photos in the squat rack, and I was like, oh fuck, geez, okay, well, let's see how this feels, right? Remember like the day that you and I shot in the squat rack, right? That sort of thing. And so just like a plate aside felt so fucking awkward, man, because I hadn't put my arms back like that. And my shoulders are kind of tight. And I was like, damn, like, fuck. And I did like a few reps with a plate. And I was like, oh, this is like, I'm going to have to like man up here. And then went to 2 plates. And I was like, oh, well, that's still awkward. But, you know, a little better than 1 plate, to be honest. And then I went to 3 just to get some photos. And I was like sitting in the bottom. And I was like, these feel pretty fucking good.
Huh.
Wonder how long it would take to get to 4 plates. And so even within like a 30-minute slow, you know, like photo shoot, I upregulated my nervous system.
Yeah, you
got
did.
the movement back to a certain degree. So it's exciting when I see you press in 2.5 because I'm like, oh, 4 plates is coming.
Yeah, it'll bounce back quick. But more than anything, man, it was exciting to. I started, like I'm actually pushing now because I did Dante's advice and I kind of let the gains happen as they would. So I started. I start tonight. Finally taking some supplements as well. So I imagine I'll be over 3 in 6 weeks or so. So that'll be fun.
That's cool. That's exciting.
Tired of being small.
So
bullshit.
you know that we have a new sub-genre of fan that has developed because of something we accidentally said. We have the last 5-minute crew.
Oh yeah. There's a bunch of them too. I was surprised.
The last 5 minutes.
Hashtag.
Crew. Yep. Hashtag. Yeah. They've been coming up to me at the gym.
No kidding.
They're like, hey, I'm last 5 minutes.
We had a bunch of people on the YouTube feed too comment, hey, last 5-minute crew.
Commenting.
Yeah.
I had a guy message me on Instagram and he's like, hey, I'm a last 5-minuter here. I just wanted to ask a question. And he like threw a question at me.
Nice.
So I was like,
That's awesome.
This is cool. Yeah.
You know what's funny
that
happened to me this weekend that stunned me about the show? I'm on the phone with my mom. And she goes, I like having Scott on. I go, you watch the show? She goes, yeah, every episode. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah. Well, hi, Dusty's mom. Thanks for watching. I appreciate your support.
I was stunned. I'm like, I was shocked that A, she knew that. B, I didn't even know she knew we had a show, let alone watched it. I was like,
what are you talking about?
I'm glad. I appreciate that, Mom.
Out
of nowhere, too.
My mom used to listen to Bodybuilding Nerds Radio, and I didn't think she listened to any of the shows now. But she was over the other day, and she said something randomly. And she's like, the guy told that story about the guy who injected something into his penis. She was like, that sounded awful. So my mom apparently watches the show too.
Everyone's going to watch me start filtering the shit out of myself.
Yeah. We can't talk about that stuff anymore, guys.
ever, like, I honestly don't give a second thought that anyone watches this. Do you know what I mean?
Sure.
And then it like, when people come up and like say stuff, I'm like, oh yeah, right. I guess the reality is that I could be saying stuff that these people are hearing. And, it's kind of funny. Like people say stuff at the gym and I'm like, oh fuck, like members watch this. Eesh.
Yeah. There's a process going on from now on as you speak.
They'll go back like 100 episodes and hear me talking about like, yeah, so I'm smoking weed at the porn awards.
Very professional.
Like, what? So, yeah. You say stuff. I got a guy at my gym. He's got a hunting podcast. And he's like a big deal hunter. And, he's like one of those guys that goes on like 2-week like treks to come back with something, like those guys. And he was just saying, I just was talking about his podcast and he was just saying how, the thing with the 2-hour talk is that you can't fake it for 2 hours. So
no.
you will inadvertently say things that are kind of personal that you wouldn't say in like a 3-minute interview.
Right.
Right.
And you just slowly drop all these nuggets out over time. and you just wind up kind of accidentally telling everyone a whole bunch of stuff about yourself that you would have never, ever told any of them.
Yeah.
And, but that's also what makes you sort of more relatable. And it's kind of why the podcast is such a crazy thing right now, because everyone's got something that they can kind of relate to, you know?
Yeah.
You know, everyone's watching somebody right now. And who's not watching a podcast?
Right.
You know, fucking everybody.
Besides me.
Yeah. Besides,
I'm like the only one. I'm like, I do watch Rogan every now and then.
Right.
If Ron tells me a story from a Rogan podcast, it cost me 4 hours of my life to watch the one story that I already knew was on it. I'm like, why did I do this?
Right.
I'm watching it more now that he pissed off CNN, so that's cool.
Yeah, I like how they're suddenly talking about how, you know, I mean, can he sue CNN for that sort of thing? It's just so crazy. It's all so nuts. Every single headline now is bullshit. It's bizarre to me, you know? It's in fact, there was this story on the news the other day, and it was these people protesting something, right? But all the other news channels were calling them anti-vaxxers.
Right.
And then this one channel was like, oh, they're mandatory vaccine protesters. They're not anti-vaxxers. Right?
It's the complete opposite.
Right. They're not anti-vaxxers. They're anti-mandatory vaccine protesters, right? And all the comments were like, I don't even know what to do with this. This is real journalism. And then the next comment is like, I can't even believe what I'm watching. This is actually an unbiased story. And then the next comment's like, I had to like check what channel this was from because I didn't even fucking, this blows my mind. Like everyone was so shocked that there was like an unbiased, just sort of like story presented. It was so funny. It was just a 2-minute news clip, but I just watched like 5 that were all sensationalized. And then this one came up from like a pretty main station here. It's not like a fringe station. And it was like unbiased and mild.
And the truth?
And yeah, like, you know, the truth usually lies in the middle, right? And it was just kind of right down the middle. And everyone in the comments noticed. They were like, what the fuck? I don't even know how to process this accurate, unbiased story. Like, we're just so, we're shocked when we see neutral news.
Yeah.
You know that's not a problem at all when everyone's blown away. They're like, wait a minute, this is accurate?
There wasn't an agenda I need to process first.
Yeah, and it reminded me, and then also I saw Fuad made a post the other day about like, you know, people basically posting like a fake image when in reality they're not actually doing that. You know what I mean? We've talked about that many times. It's kind of a common problem with, you know, social media, and and you know how a lot of people who maybe aren't as fast to pick up on how fake it is, they fall for it. And I mean, that's why some coaches have 300 clients, because they're just really good at marketing and saying the right things, and you know, so it's just it's interesting to see that. I think the public is going to come out of, like, you know, not just the last year and a half, but the last like 10 years. I mean, social media has been interesting. I think the public is slowly getting better at realizing that everything is a marketing image, you know? Like,
it is funny because I joke about that all the time. I'll create a lie at the house. It's just a terrible lie. I go, I saw that on the internet. It's got to be true. I mean, if it's on the internet, it's a fucking fact, right? Yeah. So anytime I'm in trouble, I just lie my ass off and say I saw it on the internet. We're good.
I saw it on the internet. What about you, Scott? What's going on with you?
I got something I think you would like to find out about. Actually, I sent you a video the day after I got it. So we discussed last week was my birthday, and I have editing, so I can edit this out where people can't actually see it. But I got a new gun. I needed a full size pistol, Ron. I needed the full size because the other one was too small to really. I can point this at you because you're not really here, you know. But
right. It's technically not. Yeah, I don't take offense either. I kind of get a bit of a thrill out of it.
Don't blow up the show, please.
Yeah,
We need this.
But yeah,
I feel like I'm in an action
Shoot your
movie.
computer.
yeah, you can get a nice purchase on this. It's because it's a full size handle versus the other one was kind of like more compact, more for going out on the town like date day. This is more like every day
Come on,
in
say
Detroit.
it was a bitch gun.
Kind of, man, but it still held like 16 rounds, so it's like that's a lot.
Your hand is the problem.
Yeah.
What is that? You gotta explain what you're actually holding.
Okay, we got a Glock 45 here, so it has the shorter slide with the full size. The term they use in guns is purchase. You get a full purchase on that handle, and then I put this Trigicon SRO, which is a red dot optic. So I'm freaking pumped, and I think I'm going to get into some shooting competition. I'm going to prepare for it. I put 4,000 rounds through my guns this year so far, and I think that I'm going to focus on actually trying to compete just for fun.
What are you using for ammo
Awesome.
when you're doing 4,000 rounds? That's a lot of money.
It is a lot of money. I try to go cheap. I've been using just like whatever I can get range ammo, but it's cheaper. I mean, it's 9mm, so it's not going to be super expensive, but we're still talking, maybe I pay $350 for 1,000 rounds. So it's not, if you look at it as
That's
like,
not terrible.
yeah, if you look at it like you're going to spend money on something, then I guess I'm spending money on that,
So you've been shooting a 9mm, but that's a 45, is what you're saying?
No, I should say this is model 45. Glock wants to make it confusing.
Okay.
Yeah, model 45.
I thought Glock has a 45 now. Oh,
They do have a
I didn't
45. Yeah, but the 9, it's a 9, and it's kind of like this is their newest. This is their generation 5. So I'm gonna do some more stuff. I need to get a threaded barrel neck so I can put the silencer on it, and getting some suppressor height sights so they look kind of cool. But yeah, this has been my new fun. And next week, this time, I'm going to be in Canada.
Oh, you coming to see us?
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to be like on the other side of the country, but in Ontario.
Yeah.
But yeah.
He's going north like 45 minutes, technically.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to Windsor. Driving across the bridge.
That's how I feel about Canada in general, though. People are like, you ever go to the country? I'm like, not that often. Like, you go to Canada all the time. I'm like,
It's like just a drive.
the same.
No,
Yeah.
Now, here's an interesting. I believe this is a fact. I'm going to say it as if it's a fact. Scott can confirm.
Okay.
I think one of the interesting things about the area that you live in isn't Windsor technically south of Detroit.
Technically, yes. You have to go
Yeah.
south
So you
across the
actually
Detroit
go
River.
down.
Yeah.
Go to Canada
Yeah.
because the States kind of comes up and Canada's kind of below it
Yes.
on that little hook there.
I avoid that
actually
though.
that's a Trivial Pursuit question, to be honest.
I avoid all that, and I go to the Blue Water Bridge in Port Huron, Sarnia. That's less traffic up there. There's not. I guess from what I understand, the Ambassador Bridge and the Windsor Tunnel that's the biggest border crossing.
Land crossing.
Yeah. So I try to avoid all that nonsense.
That's where Paul works, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. He said it's the busiest land crossing in North America.
Yeah, I've seen like TV shows where they're like, how they have like the shows where they're like, this is how drugs are smuggled type thing, and they do those shows at that bridge because
border security. Yeah. That show. That Canadian show gets filmed at that location, the Windsor spot. They use a lot. They use Pearson Airport in Toronto a lot, and then they film a lot in Vancouver out here at our airport and our border crossing out here.
Huh.
So there's all those episodes are kind of like, sometimes I've seen guys, I'm like, that guy pulled me once. Or I like, hey, I know that guy. Like there was one guy that used to train at our gym once in a while, and he was like a guard at the airport. So I'd see him once in a while, and he'd just wave me through. Hey, how's it going? Because he knew I was just traveling with Newton. He's like, whatever.
Yeah.
And so I'd see him on TV occasionally.
But yeah, I haven't been over
That's
there
always
in
helpful.
almost a year. So
Okay.
How long does it take to get over, typically?
like to over the border, it depends. I don't
Yeah.
know what the traffic's going to be like now, but I usually try to time it where it's a time when like nobody will be there. So if I'm lucky, it's 15, 20. If I'm unlucky, it's a half hour. Put it that way. If
that's
I'm
not bad.
yeah, if I'm really lucky, nobody's in line because it's like the sun's just coming up.
Well, I'm
wow.
heading out to Toronto this weekend.
Oh,
So for nationals. So I got to go over there
oh yeah.
and see how that show goes. So that's going to be fun. I haven't been out to Toronto for been a couple of years now. Shit, I haven't gone anywhere. So Dusty's been flying all over the States,
Right?
Fucking moving, and driving.
I found that flying during COVID was nice because no one else was doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I noticed the prices reflect that.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. There was a period there I was like doing round trips for under $100.
No kidding.
Denver. I'm like, oh, that's cool.
I'm very happy
Easy.
too because my Air Canada points or whatever the fuck, they normally you have to travel a certain amount to keep them, but they just let all of the elite people keep their points because it was a fucked up period of time.
Yeah.
So I got to like keep all my upgrade points and stuff. So I just bumped my flight up to first class to go to Toronto and stuff without having to pay anything. And it was like, so I still have all my points from like 2 years ago. So it's cool.
That's awesome.
I didn't lose them.
I like Air Canada.
So yeah, it's a love-hate relationship I have with them. Yeah.
They have yeah, I like it. It's like they're classy. They're Canadian.
They're rated. They're
Yeah.
rated one of the best airlines in the world.
And they always have the good TVs. Letterkenny. I can just kick back, watch
You got a bunch of new planes too.
Yeah.
And so what you do is you get Seat Guru. It's an app on your phone. Did I tell you guys this? You get
Nope.
Seat Guru.
Dusty needs to know this, though.
Yeah. So here's what
I'll
you
fly
do. You
first
get the app
class.
Seat Guru. I learned this from. This will still help you though, Dusty. So you look at your flight. Let's say your flight. My flight to Toronto is like flight 104 or whatever, and you look it up on Seat Guru, and they tell you they're like, oh, that's a Boeing 7. This is the map. This is the seat that you're in, and here are any reviews of that seat that other people might want you to know about.
Huh. No kidding.
And you look, and they'll be like, headphone jack doesn't work. TV's kind of broken.
No kidding.
Or there'll be like a red line around the seat, and they'll say this seat doesn't recline. And you're like, oh well, fuck, I'm glad I knew that.
Yeah.
And then also too, it's handy because you don't want to use upgrade points to go to first class if it's a small plane, and first class is just like a slightly bigger normal seat. It's just ahead of you.
The
like
short
4
the
rows.
short flights fuck you on that all the time.
Yeah, but sometimes you check, and that flight happens to be a big fucking plane with a real business class, and it's the same amount of points to upgrade. So you fucking upgrade for sure because you get a pod. And you're like, you're loving life. So Seat Guru is a great app. I use it all the time.
Now that's just shot through the roof. My mom's gonna get that now because she watches the show.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's actually a great thing. You know what's crazy is I wasn't kidding. I started doing first class, just upgrading, and now it's terrible in coach once you realize, like, even with COVID, like, they don't fuck with me as bad about my mask or anything. I'm like, I like this. You guys treat people totally different up here. So I just buy it though after the fact. I buy my flight and then upgrade for money unless it's just retarded. I'm like, I'm not rich. Fuck off. That's too much money.
Yeah. What is your? You guys want to talk about the Arnold?
I'll pull it up.
Yes.
I want to see what's going on with that.
I need to see I'm trying to get the competitor list.
I think Ian's there.
I had it and then I fucking lost it. So I think this is the most recent.
I got it.
Yeah? All right.
So let's say a little bit about each guy. So the list I got has 14 names on it. Is that what you have, Dusty?
I only have 12, but yes. Who am I missing?
Okay.
I got 12.
So we got Lionel Biecki.
Got him.
What's your thoughts on Lionel Biecki overall?
On Instagram, he's phenomenal. In real life, I just you reach a point where someone is so consistently off that he gets beaten by guys that he should never lose to because he doesn't come in on. So if he ever came in on, I think he could win the whole fucking show. He's nuts.
Yeah, I might be out of the loop here, but he found out he was diabetic, right? And then right after he found out he was diabetic, he nailed a couple of shows. I seem to remember that because he I guess that would have been information you need to know, right? And he's qualified for the O, so he must have, I can't remember what show he won.
I don't either.
But I've always thought he was absolutely unbelievable, but just had problems with consistency, like you said. What about you? You know what I'm talking about, Scott?
No, I didn't hear anything about that. Honestly, I'm looking at the list.
He was diabetic.
He's one of the people I know the least about. I think on the list here, but I didn't know that. I mean, I believe you.
Yeah. Well, I think I'm right. I mean, I might be fucking wrong.
Maybe you're making stuff up.
Listen, I appreciate you creating a lie for him on why he keeps missing.
Yeah.
No, but for real, he is. I think he's one of the most talented bodybuilders on the planet. Yeah. But if when it just doesn't come together for how you for a while. I mean, years ago, I was like, you're waiting, he's just gonna find it, and then after a while, you just kind of forget. But he could eventually pop through. I mean, it's one of those things. It's crazy, but God, I wish I could remember who I was talking to. But back in the day when I was sponsored by Flex Magazine, that's what happened with Roden. When he won his first pro show, he was a Flex athlete, and they were out covering the show, and Robbie Durand was with him at the time, and he messaged one of the photographers. He's like, "How's the show looking?" And he goes, "Sean's going to win." And Robbie, who's sponsored them, goes, "Sean who?" It didn't even register in his brain because he was just not in the mix. And that was when Roden and Aceto had just started. And, of course, now you look and you're like, when has he ever not nailed it?
Right. Yeah.
So, I mean, it could happen is my point. I would love to see him start winning, but you got to see that first one to believe it can happen.
So we got Bonac, who's already an Arnold champion. We got Max Charles.
Who looks better and better every show.
Yeah, Max Charles getting better. Sung Choo Lee, I'm excited to see him. He's a great bodybuilder.
Yep.
Mohammed El Iman. He's good. Kuklo. So if you're thinking of guys who could win this, I mean, Bonac's already won it. Can Kuklo win Arnold? Right?
Yeah.
Cedric.
Sure. Cedric's always
already
win.
won an Arnold. Hassan, who's yet to be peeled.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right?
Some of the most incredible legs I've ever seen in my life. I just want to see him shredded.
Yeah. And then you got Sergio.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got Justin Rodriguez.
He looks. He just sent me pictures yesterday. He's going to be the best he's been all year by a long shot.
And that says a lot then, because he's been fantastic already.
Yeah, he made some tweaks, even to how he's hitting some of his shots. His side chest is wacky right now. So I'm excited to see him. I think you're going to see he's going to land in the top 5 for sure. Which this isn't a small show, so that's saying a ton in this lineup. But I would be stunned if he's not in the top 5.
Well, I'm having a hard time picking a top 5 because then, you get Sergio, Justin, and then you got Ian. I mean,
Akeem.
And then Keem, and then Nick Walker.
Yep.
And then Rowley. So I'm just thinking, when's the last time the lineup for the Arnold was this ridiculous? I think
the lineup for the Arnold is always ridiculous, to be honest. But this is, okay. So you have to put you got to pick a first place right now. Who is it?
Jesus. Well,
let me ask you guys this: is Bonac going to be able to hold up and repeat? First of all, because he's been really successful at the Arnold, top competitor there.
I don't think you can ever count him out. Isn't he a 2-time champion?
I believe so.
Yeah,
he's up there. He's always, the last few years, been really high.
I feel like the safe money is on him. If you were putting your life savings on it, just knowing what he's done, that would be your bet. But
if you're looking at the
there's
Olympia placings,
yeah, but it's also still hard to. I feel like some of these, like Bonac, in my opinion, is awesome, but he's kind of been the same awesome. Whereas a lot of these other guys are shooting upwards, which starts to change the game. You know what I mean?
well,
it's not like he needs any more muscle.
I keep looking at this list, and the three names that jump out at me the most on this list are Bonac, because he's, defending champ. Is he defending? Did he win last year? I'm so fucked up. Like
yeah.
And then Ian, because Ian is clearly doing well.
yeah.
And then Akeem,
bodybuilder for sure.
And then Akeem. Akeem's the name that jumps out at me.
I could say Akeem doing it.
I mean, looking at Olympia placings and looking at sheer size and freakiness, those are the names that are jumping out at me for like the top three. And if I had to pick two more, I mean, Jesus, I'm sort of thinking Kuklo and Rodriguez.
Yep. I agree with that.
Kuklow's been up there, if you look at the quality of his history. I would say Kuklo easily in that top 5.
He was enormous in that Texas show. Pull 7 pounds off of him, and I think it's a game changer.
That's plenty of time to do that.
I mean, that would be. I think, because that's the one thing, you don't realize how big Steve is until you stand next to other dudes that are big.
Yes, that's so
and
true.
You're like, holy shit, he is massive. I mean, Ian is a monster. And I did feel like at that Texas show, when he stood next to Steve, I was like, God damn, Steve is huge. And then I text Gina, I'm like, what is Steve at? And I think she said like 290. And I'm like, I don't blink at that thought. I'm like, yep, that makes sense.
Steve was definitely the biggest guy in the front relaxed.
Yeah.
Like the widest, biggest guy. He had kind of had that Cutler look in the front relaxed where you're like, oh, he's just wider than everybody. But
yep, agreed.
Just crazy.
I'm
fun. Excited.
I would love to see him come in nasty. And I mean, I'll be honest, if I could pick, I would love to see him come in and win, because I'd like to see him do the Olympia.
Right. Yeah. I guess winner gets a spot, eh?
Yeah, so that's, I mean, truthfully, like that alone is why I'd love to see him win, because I'd love to see him to do the Olympia. And then that would give him and Ian their third go of the year for the tiebreaker.
Yeah.
As much as I love Rolly, based off of where he came in so far this year, I don't think he could do it. I don't think he could be the Rolly that we want to see. In fact, John Meadows, rest in peace, said the same thing when we did our New York Pro wrap up. He was like, we both were like, Rolly is one of our favorite people, and you want to see Rolly just get up there and crush everything. But he came in smaller this year, and he wasn't as lean, and I don't think that he has enough time to fix those things by the Arnold.
Right.
Now, what do you think about Nick? Because I mean, obviously, Nick has what it takes to win a show, but is he ready to win an Arnold? Is he going to surprise everyone, be top 3? What's he going to do?
To me, no. And the reason is because he didn't come in off when he won the New York Pro. It wasn't like you were like, oh, well, he was, he needed to lose 5 more pounds. He would have really nailed it. Like, he did really nail it. So in this lineup,
he really won that show.
Yeah, I just don't think it's time yet in this lineup. I think eventually he could be there. But yeah, this lineup's just it's Nick is a freak's freak. But I still think there comes an issue when you also start to add frame to it. So it's one of those things where you don't realize how big other people are until you see their frames. I mean, we've talked about this, like you said, with Cutler. Like, his bone structure is so wide. I don't think most people realize until you would see him next to everyone else. You're like, what?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah.
I would love to see it.
He'll be right on the edge of the top 5, I think, and he could sneak into the top 5. But I think the top 3, I can't see him beating Akeem, Ian, Steve, Bonac. You see what I'm saying? Like that list those are heavy hitters. So we'll see. I'd love to be wrong.
Okay.
That'd be fun.
Yeah, I think top 5 would be that would be a very respectable placing for him in this particular lineup. If he could hang with those guys and take everybody else out, I mean, heck, that means he'd be taking out Sergio, he'd be taking out Cedric, he'd be taking out Max Charles. You know, these are some really good competitors that he would be beating, you know, taking out Rolly.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Interesting.
Somebody asked if we'd get Cedric on the show.
I'd
love to have Cedric on the show.
Yeah. I think we lost Dust.
Okay.
I think Dusty's gone.
So they want Cedric and they want Nathan.
And there was a bunch of people. They also said Steve Kuklo. They said Leroy. They want Leroy on there. I guess that's Leroy Davis. Here's Dusty's back.
Oh.
We got you.
I'm back.
Yeah, they wanted Leroy Davis. They wanted it was a good. Of course, they want to see James again. Everybody wants to have James back on the show.
You know, you're a fan favorite when you have essentially your own show that you're on every week, and people still want you on another one. That's awesome. I'd love to have James on it. That's probably, for me, out of 104 shows, he's top 1 or 2 for me when we had him on each time.
He was good. We should do round 3
or what?
Yeah, I want to do some YouTube questions, Scott. I want to see what they got.
All right, cool. We actually had one that was an observation. Let me see if I can find this one. It was an interesting observation, and I wanted to bring
an observation.
Yes. Okay. Here it is. This is from Kenneth Kidd. I can drop it up here on the screen too. He says he always watches to the end. No request, but he wanted to say to Scott, and is that Hawaiian? Yeah. Happy birthday, basically in Hawaiian.
Yeah.
And he says, get this, he says, have a great birthday. Dusty used to do the Yorkie head tilt when thinking about something that goes, And I've seen that. I've seen you do that, Dusty. And he says, but post-accident doesn't do it anymore.
That's the most phenomenal thing someone ever noticed in my life.
I know, right? I didn't get the end of his statement, but he said he loves Harvey and Donna so much that he would mimic them. And that is a Yorkie thing, isn't it? The Yorkie like head tilt.
See, here's the mistake that he's making.
What's that?
He thinks that Dusty is mimicking the dogs, but Dusty actually likes Yorkies because they act like him.
Valid point.
He noticed
you know if my head ever turns, I'm going to catch it in my brain. I'm going to go, I did that.
Right. But apparently it's not going to happen. You don't do it anymore.
Brain is off. Of all the things I could have lost, that was it.
Yeah.
I would have liked to have lost some of my bad shit, the blinking, the fucking, god damn. The incorrect use of English language would have been nice.
Here's another one.
Yes.
This is Damon. He says he also makes it the last 5 minutes. He said, I had a question for y'all. And I was a former client of Ron's, by the way.
Oh, yeah. Damon.
Way to leave in, Damon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He says, I've been in lockdown for like 3-4 months. Gyms seem to be opening back up in a month or so. How do I get myself ready to get back in the gym, and what approach should I take from day one in terms of programming and diet?
Just get back to what you were doing. He trained super hard. He sort of had that, high intensity DC sort of style of training. I would just get back in there and just get quality sets. Don't worry about your weights at all. Just go train hard, and you'll figure your weights out in the first 2-3 weeks. And then you just start progressing back up in your weights and just eating your food and just be mindless about it, because it's just rinse and repeat until your body weight's back up and everything's back. There's no use at all in overthinking it or fussing it at all. Yeah. Save yourself all the stress. Just get back to what you're doing.
Agreed.
You should be excited to do it. And if you're anything like me, you'll literally be one day back into it, and you'll be like, okay, we're back at it.
Yeah, right.
Back to my normal life.
Yeah, one day back in, you're like, okay, we're good. Structure's set up, everything's ticking, and you just like let it happen. That's my advice. I guess Dusty has a little bit of a layoff experience recently, so he could add.
I mean, that's exactly what I did. You just go. The only thing I would change is make sure when you are reestablishing your numbers, don't let I don't know him, but a lot of people make the mistake of, for example, let's say the rep range they're shooting for is 12 to 15. They mentally prepare to fail in that 15 range and understand when you're bouncing back, what you get one week, and then even if you're doing everything the exact same every week, the next week could be drastically stronger. So you just have to factor that in, which is not normal for the rest of your career. Like when you're coming back, I literally will grab a bar and go, oh, let's see where we're at. I mean, so 2 weeks ago behind the neck press, I got 3 plates for 8 plus 2 assisted. Then the following week I did 15 by myself. Like you're not getting those changes typically. So you just need to mentally make sure during your set you're like, no, there's more in the tank. But other than that, I just, I've never understood the idea of stepping into the pool when you can jump into the deep end and just see what the fuck happens.
Yeah. I would just get going.
It's a good question, though.
Day one.
All right. Let's see what else we got.
First thing you should do is call Ron and get back on his program.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. We got another one here from a last 5 minute. I guess they all are, because we didn't tell them to ask questions until the last 5 minutes.
Right.
So yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. What is your favorite ever item of bodybuilding clothing? Mine is Tom Platt's shorts that came out in the late 80s. I swear my legs got bigger wearing them. Huh.
That's funny.
I never saw those. Did you guys see Tom Platt shorts? Because I would totally buy those.
No, I never saw Tom Platt shorts. My favorite item of bodybuilding clothing ever has to be, it would be back in the 90s, early 90s, mid 90s, the Gators Gym boat neck shirt. The sweatshirt that had the big boat neck cut into it.
You should bring that back.
And your traps would stick out of it. And then you wear the string tank top underneath with the narrow.
Yeah.
So that the strings are narrow on the neck and the whole trap then sticks out and goes down into the sweatshirt. And then when you're, 20 years old and you're shrugging 5 plates and you have massive traps, it looks pretty cool. And then you pair that with a pair of OG baggy pants with a big hammer crotch in the middle. Yeah. You tuck them into your socks. Yeah.
What do they call those socks they had back then? Like the scrunchy ones that were like big.
Yeah, like the sweat socks. It's called like workout socks. Yeah. You got the big like wool socks, and you tuck the ones that look like wool socks, but they're not really that hot, and you tuck the fucking sweatpants into them. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Ron sounds like he's describing a Halloween costume.
Yeah.
Well, much. It is literally a Halloween costume now. I wore it for Halloween a couple years ago.
That's awesome. What about you, Scott?
Man, I'm trying to think of something that I had a Powerhouse Gym shirt that I really liked. That was like my first piece of bodybuilding clothing, and it was one of the old, actually when I say one of the old, no, it's the exact same shirt that Powerhouse sells today basically, but 20 plus years ago, they still had the same thing. I don't know, I go through phases. Like I bought this camo hoodie from Gold's Venice when I was out there I did a show in Los Angeles. Like it was just a state level competition, and like a qualifier. But I was like, you know what? If I'm competing, why don't I travel and make a trip out of it? And friend and client Andrea Watson, by the way, she just won the overall at the Arizona Women's Extravaganza. Yeah, she kicked ass or transitioned to bikini. So I stayed out there, hung out with her, and I went to Gold's and I got that hoodie. And for like 6 months or a year, I loved it. It was like the coolest thing ever. And now I feel like a lot of that stuff, like I don't care about anymore. You know what I mean? Like you get something and then you first get it and you're like, damn, I'm so pumped to have this. Or,
So I remember when Blood and Guts came out.
Yeah.
If you remember the leg day segment, Dorian wears a big Powerhouse t-shirt.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's really long. It like hangs down like almost to his knees.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And he's got the sleeves are actually slit just at the seam,
Okay.
right? And it just looks just fucking big and huge on him, but you can still tell he's got like, he just looks crazy thick in it, right? And I remember right after I saw Blood and Guts, I got my hands on a fucking like XXX Powerhouse t-shirt.
Hell yeah.
And it was like the same shirt. I put it on and it hung down like way past mid-thigh on me. Like it was super long.
Yeah.
And it was kind of snug everywhere, but long in the sleeves, you know? It was like,
Yep.
It was the same shirt. I was like, this is the same shirt Dorian's wearing. And that was my fucking leg day shirt for like 3 years straight. I would always train legs in that shirt. And it just eventually got where it just, like it was white. And eventually I just couldn't get it white anymore. Like it was just so
yellow.
fucking,
So nasty.
yeah, like I'd
Yeah.
fucking wash it with every possible concoction I could to get it white again. It was just, it was pretty bad. But that shirt, I'd put it on, I'd feel like Superman. Like that's fucking leg day, you know?
It was
Yeah.
stronger immediately, for sure.
Yeah.
You know, Victoria
obvious.
Victoria bought me a Mike Menser t-shirt last year for my birthday. That's my current favorite article of clothing.
That's
What's
a
it got on
classic.
it?
It's like a picture of him just standing there, and it says Mike Menser. You like upper body
Oh.
shot.
Oh, okay, that's cool. That's
Yeah,
cool.
yeah, it's nice.
Mine's easy. Mine is a West Coast Iron hat. Rest in peace.
That I believe you. You say that all the time.
Yeah, because I wore it that long, and now that was my original, and it is now in a river somewhere because I am a moron.
Wait, what
And
did you
then-
do?
He lost the West
I
Coast Iron
lost
hat
it.
in a river.
So I was floating a river, and some people got caught behind a tree, and they were not getting out of there.
Yeah.
So I just bailed off of my my tube, thinking I was going to hit the ground.
Yeah.
There was no ground.
Oh, so you went down.
So I sunk to give you an idea, once I realized I was sunk, I was like, screw it, and I just pushed up to see how far, and I still didn't hit the ground. I was like, all right, this is deep as shit right here.
Yeah, yeah.
Came up, moved them, and I almost popped their tubes and left them to drown after I lost my hat. I was pissed. Like it was their fault that I'm a moron. But so that, and then same thing, Ron. JP sent me a JP training clothing shirt that's a 5X white for leg day. And I had it before I got sick. So at 305, it looked like my big brother's shirt. So that's my leg day shirt for sure, and it's white also. So someday I'll be putting the show and I'll be like, "See, Ron, I see what you mean. It's yellow. It doesn't work
Or it's got
anymore."
blood stains on it.
But that one, and then I actually have an honorable mention that you should know, Ron. But the Lift to Kill Mutant, the yellow.
Oh,
That
yeah.
shirt just fit every person perfectly. Like
That was a great shirt. Remember the material? It was just like,
Yeah.
once it got a little sweaty, it just clung to all the lumps and bumps on your straps.
But it was
I
so
remember
light,
thinking-
though. Like seriously, like I'm telling you, Scott, that shirt was made of a material that doesn't exist.
No kidding.
Yeah, it was the thinnest cotton. It was awesome. And I remember I remember thinking that no shirt made my rear delts look more pumped.
Valid.
You know, when you get a really good rear delt pump and they're sticking up behind you,
Yeah.
just the way that shirt looked, it just like hung off the rear delts like a curtain hanging down from your rear delts. It was just the coolest shirt.
Yeah.
Of course, Dusty was a master at cutting it up too, so that also enhanced
Well, I
it.
had both though because it was nice. Thankfully, George knew my love for that shirt probably because I wore it too much, and he
Yep.
decided it was probably disgusting. So he gave me like 4 of them. So I had 2
Yeah, well,
cut out,
he would-
3 regular.
They were clearing out the warehouse that one day, and they were like, "Oh,
Yep.
all these old Lift to Kill shirts that didn't get sold." And George is like, "Send all the triple X's to Dusty."
That's the other thing. The Triple X was truly a 4X because it fit as baggy as all my clothes, only a better material. So yeah, that was a classic. Bring it back, George. Bring it back.
Yeah. That shirt doesn't exist anymore, Dusty.
I know it's
All
sad.
right. I got one more over here, and this is from Caleb Cruz. He says, awesome episode, guys. It'd be really cool to see. Is this Justin Shire? Is that how you say his name?
I
Justin
follow
Shire
him on Instagram.
Okay.
Yeah.
He says he's one of Matt's new guys. I'm sure he means Matt Jansen. Up and coming monster. Okay. Yeah. Hostile athlete. Question. Are there any moments looking back where you wish you would have enjoyed life and eased off of bodybuilding for an event or a brief moment?
I don't have any regrets, right? I just don't do that. I don't really do regrets. But I do like to give this advice to other bodybuilders who are starting out now and coming up. And that is that you're capable of doing a whole bunch of normal stuff that you don't think you should be doing, but it's totally fine. Like, bodybuilding is like software that runs in the background. Like, did you get your meals in? Did you get your sleep?
Right.
Okay. Well, you can still go visit your sister for an hour on a Thursday.
Yeah.
And you can still go if you're, someone needs you to drop by to chat about, I don't know. I'm just trying to think, like, you don't have to cancel everything is what I'm saying.
Right.
Yes, you should probably cancel the parties if you're getting ready for a show. Yes, getting ready for a show, there's going to be a whole bunch of time restrictions with added cardio to your day, and you're busy and you're exhausted, and that's it. But I think sometimes people, they like push too much stuff out. I think trying to stay normal actually makes the process easier, and try to relax and just, like, you don't have to be stressed out about everything all the time just because you have a show coming up. You don't have to be like always stressed about it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just, I was very single-minded. Like, I was like, that live in a box thing, I was very, like, single-minded. And I don't think I had to be that single-minded. I think I could have been way more able to do other things and still been just as good. Who knows? Maybe it would have made it better,
Right.
So, I mean, yeah, you got to be disciplined and you can't be doing shit and, but should still be able to have a pretty normal existence while you're prepping. And that's why, like, as I did more and more shows, my friends would say stuff to me like, oh, you seem way more normal. I didn't even know you were dieting.
Right.
I'm like, yeah, I'm just better at it. Sometimes I think the first couple shows, people are just like so fucked up by their diet process that they just,
it's tough. Like, it takes time to find that balance,
Yeah. Yeah. I remember, like, traveling to see my folks one time, and everyone's like, oh, you have a show coming up? Like, it used to be a big deal. Like, oh, can you eat this? Can you eat that? But I was just like, I didn't even mention that I had a show coming up. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it just gets easier.
Yeah. I think for me, I mean, I definitely have zero regrets, but also for some of us, I'm not competing. I haven't competed in years. I still don't like doing things. So it's easy.
Well, there's that.
Yeah. So I think but what you said is absolutely true. Like, a lot of people think they need to shut their life off. I never had one, so it was easy.
I'm kind of with you. Like, yeah.
Because, I mean, literally, I think that's the what you're saying. That's the takeaway is there's no reason you shouldn't be able to live your life, minus if you're a party freak or something like that, normal the entire time. Because that's what I'm always blown away why people go, oh, I don't have time because I'm in prep for a show. And I'm like, or you're not even prep for a show. They're bodybuilders. And I was like, all right, so you train for 2 hours. You eat. It takes 15 minutes each time. You prep. Okay, what do you not have time for? I don't understand. Because I've worked, when I owned the businesses at the end, I was doing at the retail stores 12-hour days, 6 days a week, and prepping for, I turned pro doing that. It's like, there's plenty of time. I just don't think people realize that they just choose not to. Like you said, Ron, I preferred being busy. I found it was harder to compete when I no longer had a job to go to because there was a lot more downtime. So there's a lot more time to realize that you were hungry or realize these things. When you're busy, like, I just used to set alarms on my phone. They'd go off. I'd drop everything, immediately walk back, smash my food, and then get back. Yeah. And when you don't, you have all this time, which I think is terrible if you're a thinker. Like, a lot of people stress about shows and stuff. That's the worst thing you can do is have time to mentally masturbate to death. Yeah.
I think one of the differences too is is when I say I got better at it, I think the main thing there is where your mind is at while you're doing things. So I know a lot of people competing and dieting will relate to this, but let's say you have to go to something like it's your dad's birthday party, right? Mm-hmm. And, everyone's going to be there, and, maybe your cousin annoys you and your uncle always asks you questions and you just don't want to go. And you're just like, fuck. And you go to your dad's, and the whole time you're mentally preoccupied with how you don't want to be there. And how you wish you could just go home and sit in front of a TV and just not talk to anybody and eat your chicken because you have 2 meals left. And you don't have time for this shit and stuff like that. Looking back now, I know that is a huge waste of your time.
Yeah, it is.
It's a huge waste of your energy. You'd be way better off just submitting to the process and having a positive mental state and just, trying to, act normal for a while and have a normal conversation and not be upset or annoyed at every single thing coming out of every person's mouth, because I know what it's like to be in a room with normal people. When you're dieting, you're like 2 weeks out and you're in a room full of normal people and they're talking about normal people shit. And you're thinking, I can't believe how little I care about anything that's happening right now. And I totally understand that. But I think that you should work to overcome that.
Yeah.
And I think that over time you sort of do. Like, that's what I mean when I got better at dieting. Like, people wouldn't think I was mentally distant. They'd be like, oh, you're like totally normal, And that just came. But I think it's good to like strive to get there as soon as you can. Try not to take 20 shows to get good at it.
I think that, what you get out of that too is I think that you get better at staying plugged in long term because you can only handle so much of that stress that you guys are talking about. And then the show ends and you're like, I just need a fucking break. I'm sure both you guys work with people or have worked with people that are very serious. They're 100% plugged into the prep. And then after the prep, you don't hear from them.
Yep.
And that's because they can't do what they were doing. They can't do that for their entire life. They can do it for 16 weeks, but they can't do that for their entire lives. So being able to figure out how to that's going to help you figure out how to make it work, and being able to think how to diet on the fly. One guy that I work with, a brand new competitor, it's really important for his wife to be able to have a cheat meal with him. And I think for her, it's probably more of the fact that she gets to have this time, with her husband. I think they're married. And I had to take the cheat meals away from him. So I think that can kind of cause a rift where now they don't have that time together once a week type thing. And they got to deal with all the problems of life and their kids and all that. So I was like, listen, dude, you can still get food. You can still eat with her. You just don't have to eat, shit. So he ordered grilled chicken and a salad and got her the Indian food that she liked and then surprised her with it, which is like bonus points for him. You know what I mean? Because then she still got to have the date day. He got to spend the time with her and they can still carry on with life. It's like she doesn't have to suffer just because he's on a diet. And when you live like that, it's a lot easier to say, oh, yeah, okay, I can do this year round versus, well, I can't live my life not having date days anymore,
Yeah.
Right.
I remember I had a client. Every once in a while you have a client and you're like, oh, this guy's like teaching me something. You know what I mean? And I had this client one time who he was like a master's guy. He was over 40 and he just wanted to do one show. He was one of those guys. My wife says I can do a show, been lifting for 20 years. It's time to do a show. Kids are getting older, that sort of thing. And I remember they had I don't know, he would have been like 10 years old and like a 14-year-old or something. And they would come to see me every 2 weeks because he lived like a little farther away. So he would come to see me to pose every 2 weeks. And they'd bring the whole family to be with him. And they'd all be super into it and positive. The kids would be like, look how ripped his legs are getting. And the wife would be like, we've been working on posing every night. I'm counting 10 counts for every pose. And she was like part of the posing drill team. And the kids were like totally into it. They were like, come on, Dad, you can hold it longer than that. You know, suck your belly in. Like, they were totally into it. And they were all just full of smiles and saying they were having the most fun. Like, it was like one of those things you're like, wow, this family is like 100% positive all the time. How did, like, what's wrong with me?
That's cool.
and then at the show, yeah, exactly. And then at the show, they were all there yelling for him, and they had signs, and he like won the overall, and he was like, that was fantastic experience. The family loved it. I loved it. It was all good. The wife loved it.
Damn.
But that's one show, I'm done. And I was like, wow, that was good. Because like sometimes it doesn't go that way.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, for sure.
But they just managed it. I don't know. Like, they managed it perfectly. Like, it was like one of those things. I just, from observing it, I was just like, this is awesome. I wish everyone had this type of a positive experience with their first and only show. You know? So
More
lessons.
like the end of the prep. I'm sleeping on the couch. My wife's pissed at me because I want to quit my day job and work at the gym.
Yeah.
You know,
And my kids think I don't love them anymore.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So does Dusty have any Instagram questions?
I do. I'm trying. I mean, you know what's crazy is I'm so picky about like how if they're great. Oh, that was my microphone jumping.
No.
We didn't lose him though. He didn't disappear on us this time.
Him.
So that was all right.
Here we go. He's getting bigger.
Right.
He's starting to knock stuff off his table. Right? He got used to being small there for a bit.
He doesn't have the same clearance anymore.
There we go. You're getting bigger, Dusty.
You can see it too. He's looking more filled out now.
You can lean farther out of the frame and we can still see your shoulder.
I really wish I could like take some sort of credit in being larger, but this thing just committed suicide. It just jumped off, just fell. Like I didn't even. Also, I just go, oh, there it goes. Is it working again, Scott?
We're good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Yes. Back to my. I'm on a fucking streak with throwing shit lately. I dropped a grill out of the back of my truck the other day too. So I'm on a roll. Don't worry, it didn't hurt my truck. Oh, that wasn't your concern? Sorry, that was the only thing I cared.
What do you mean
like,
a grill? Like a barbecue or like?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, barbecue. Yeah, Dang. Not good. I got a new one. Anyway. Let's see. Yes. Oh, here we go. I'm going to change the question. I'm going to read it, but I'm going to change it. Off season, is your test ran high, 1,000 plus, or do you keep it lower and run other things higher? So just advice as opposed to your personal use. What do you guys say with that? I mean, number one, 1,000 is fucking silly. I don't know why everybody thinks that's like average. But beyond that, do you run your test super high, or do you lower it when you put other things in?
Well, I mean, what I would do now if I was doing it might be a little different, but I was always really like money conscious, right? I mean, the first half of my bodybuilding was done before underground labs were really a thing.
Oh, okay.
So you were paying for pharmaceutical gear, and test was always the cheapest. So you just spent most of your money on like Sustanon amps. And sometimes you do your entire off season with nothing but test. Like I did a lot of off seasons where I just took test only because that was just the only affordable option when, 100 megs of Deca is like $30.
Oh, God.
It's like, oh, well, I can get, a Sustanon 250 amp for $8. So it looks like we're doing a cycle of like, 4 or 5 Sust a week with nothing else. And we'll just get big on test, that was but that was super common too. A lot of guys did that. And they would just save all their anabolics. Like you get your hands on a bottle of Winstrol and you'd be like, oh, prep box, put it in the prep box, Get your hands on like 100 Anavar tabs, you throw them in the prep box, like nothing. You didn't use like that stuff off season as much. That's what my experience was. And then, later on it became different because you had all this assortment of stuff you could choose from all the time.
Yeah.
Right.
But, I would probably run, probably less test and use more other things now. But back then it was a lot of test off season. Yeah. With like very little else.
But I mean, the
What about
test
you,
would
Scott?
the test would still go up, right? When you say less test, you would still increase. Did you come off? Let me ask you this: did you come off in between cycles years and years ago when you were?
Oh yeah, all the time.
Okay.
Yeah, I always came off. Like I never cruised until I was like 38 years old. Like that was like something I started in like whatever, 2012 or something.
Okay. Yeah, because I would think I would still increase both because they would both be, the test would be lower. So even if it was like going to 500 test, 750 test, a gram test, I'd still, and then also too, I don't think this is as common now, or it's thought of as being like maybe a little bit old school, was that, the test is best idea, that you would raise the test and then add in something else to kind of modulate the effect of what you wanted, but basically basing your cycle around test. So it'd be like, I'm going to run whatever, I run 600 test, and then it'll be like add something else to it. So it'd be like 600 test, 300 deca or whatever, But I think the test would be the prime mover still,
Yeah, I always did cycles that were like, because I'm a big guy, like I'm 6'1", fucking big dude. So yeah, 1,000 tests I would go to. That would, and I would run like, just thinking back to what the costs were, like, 3 cc's of EQ a week, and there were 50 milligram cc's. So it's only 150 EQ. So you'd run like a gram a test with 150 EQ.
Damn.
Right.
So it's just different. And then I'm like, nowadays I see cycles, guys are like, oh, I'm on 500 test and 700 primo.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, well, 700 primo back then would cost you like, what's 30 times 7? So $210 a week for your primo.
Right.
Starts to add up. So there just wasn't done like that back then.
Yeah.
The 90s was when like test was king in the 90s, man. Like just like, you talk to all those guys. I remember Nasser telling me like 2,000 tests a week, and like, everyone was doing that. So
I always think to myself when I hear crazy numbers, I'm not even thinking health. I'm like, where do you put it? Like,
that's a logistical.
My mindset. I'm like, where does it all go? I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm aware there's many spots to hit, but when you really think about it, that's always my knee jerk when I see a giant cycle. I'm like, where did you put all that?
Yeah.
Because you can do it in the beginning, but after a while, as scar tissue builds and shit, like, I'm amazed at how many people just roll with that, because I'm thinking, God damn, your body must just ache from the tissue. You know what I mean?
I did at one time build up, and I went to 700 tren ace per week. Right.
Oh.
And I didn't start out that way on the contest cycle, but I ended up there thinking like, what, can I get harder and see what happens? And like the last 3 weeks, that's where I was. Is Dusty frozen, or is he just staring at me?
I think he's in shock.
I think he is. It's like, really, I'm starting to feel bad about saying this. We'll get him back, I'm sure.
Okay.
I don't know why he has his system has issues, I guess. But
that's the perfect face for right now. Continue with this.
Okay, I'll continue the story. But yeah, it was every day, and that was logistically, I could never do that again. Like, I have a hard enough time taking a shot once a week at this point. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to do that. And then here's Dusty. He's back. We got him back. Your face was frozen, like in your look of shock.
I thought you were just in shock for like a whole minute.
Yeah.
I was mad because I saw it freeze and I was pissed.
Yeah.
What all we saw was like,
and then I was like, oh my God, Dusty's I've really disappointed him.
Go with it, Josh.
Yeah, that's a lot of drugs.
I ran a.
Yeah. So how did you feel on 700 tren? Like, what's the person feel like? Did you want to kill everyone?
No,
or were you just
no.
like,
I mean, like the first time I ever ran tren, I felt like the aggression from it. But a decade later, it didn't really have that effect on me. So it wasn't the craziest thing, I mean, and there's people who obviously run more than that, but it was tren ace too, so that was a cc every day. That was it was a lot. Lats, shoulders, quads, glutes.
Did you have someone hitting the shots for you, or were you doing it?
I could do them. I found that like if you take your arm and you put it up against the door frame and then you press this way, you can get to your lap, you know?
That's awesome. That's always my thought process too. I'm like, well, then who does it? Which is how I feel about the glutes every time. I'm like, who did that for you? That's behind you. It doesn't make sense to me. I'm such a simple mind.
That's funny.
What about you, Dusty?
You know, so this is, I always based off of tests too. But I can say, and this is where my focus would be, is that everyone needs to, you got to kind of figure out what works for you. So it's like, yeah, this is base information. But for example, I talked to JP and he said, well, when you go like DECA only cycles and stuff, your appetite's through the roof. You can eat more. Huh. And I am a huge proponent of making sure you can eat.
Yeah.
So that makes sense. Like if you can eat more and you can train, is a very valid thing. Now I hate 19 Norris, but it made sense to me. So it's something I think that if I could go back, I would have played with different options like that. Because I think a lot, like Ron said, it's kind of old school. So that's just what I was taught. So that's what I always did.
Yeah.
And I think that's as I've aged and been in the game longer, it's a pretty normal answer to questions I do on my regular Q&A. When people are like, what do you do? I'll say what I do, and I go, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to like it. So you should try different things and execute. So, yes, I always based it, but and in the off season, I don't really typically run a ton anyways. I was always a big believer in when I was competing every year, usually a couple times a year. Off season was like test because I didn't want to be abusing my body, because come prep time, I was knocking the shit out of it.
Yeah. Right.
So part of that was that factor. Like after 2010, I was competing multiple times a year, every year for 7 years. So that was the difference, is it was really about health, because I really did analyze my blood work constantly. And so running test low, but I would call it a cycle. Like I'd take 400 milligrams of test and call that a cycle in the off season, because food was up and test was up, but I couldn't be adding other things. And I've definitely never pressed anything else high. Like 500 is the highest I've ever went on anything that wasn't test.
Right.
So, and again, not saying that's right. Yeah, just that's what I always did. And I had numbers in my head that I decided, once I knew who I was in bodybuilding, I actually just put a fence on things. And I'm like, okay, I won't take more than this amount ever.
And you could do that. Like both of you guys, have genetics that are probably better than, a lot of people, especially for muscle growth. That I think that for some people, there's going to be that thing where it's like maybe they aren't as cut out for bodybuilding, but in order to compete with a Dusty, they're going to end up using a lot more drug to catch up type thing. I think that there is that, whereas like you made a smart move because you didn't have to, like right. you could have done it. It might not have meant that you would have been better.
Yeah. That's how I looked at it. Truthfully, was I said, if I push these numbers, will it put me at the next level? And if the answer would have been yes, then I might have done it. So, all right, well, let's see what happens. But I'm just a realist. I could look and say, more drugs will not take me to the next level. It won't change my frame. So there's no reason. You know what I mean? And I think that's something, in life in general, that most people need to work on is self-awareness. You have to be able to look at yourself and not be chasing that carrot so hardcore that you forget it's not your carrot. That one's not for you. And I think that's a mistake a lot of people make. I get it. Like, I love being competitive, and it's very difficult when you reach a level where you go, I'm just not competitive anymore. I compete with myself, and there's nothing wrong with that. And that way I could still enjoy bodybuilding now, but even for the years as a pro, like, I'd never win to a show like, man, I hope you get that win, but I still enjoyed it because I could push myself. Whereas I think if you get blinded, you also stop enjoying it because you're going in to win and then getting dusted.
Yeah.
So, and that's why you do see a lot of that. And Ron knows we've got friends that have done that. They push the envelope, and you're like, and in a lot of their cases, my thought process also, like, you also can't, these are bad financial decisions. You know, because I think a lot of people don't factor that in with their bodybuilding. Is, you know, like I get a lot of people that are like, oh, well, you know, should I take growth? I have enough money, and I want to step in and be like, do you also have investments?
Yeah.
Do you
Do you
also own a property? Do you like those types of things? Because if you are doing that and you have the money to add some growth, well, fuck it, do your thing.
Yeah.
True Nutrition has supported our programming now for a number of years, and I'm super grateful for it because they believe in us and I believe in them. I'm sure you guys have heard of Dante Trudell. We talk about him on the shows. He had a vision of offering high-quality, third-party tested supplements at a fair price. They have a ton of different protein powders, just about every type you could think of, literally thousands of flavor combinations. Hit me up if you're interested in suggestions. They offer health supplements. I use their collagen and their fish oil. And of course, they offer performance supplements. You can get bulk EAA powder or beta-alanine. You can also get finished products like the Mountain Dog Perry MD Intra-Workout. If you shop with True Nutrition and you use our code THINK, you'll get some additional savings, you'll get high-quality supplements, and you will support our programming. You can also help to support the shows through Patreon. I appreciate everybody who's made a contribution. You guys are helping to keep me pumping these podcasts out. I have links to everything in the description. Check them out. Let me know what you think, and let's get back to the program.
Anyway, on to the next. All right, I got
On to
an
the
important
next,
one for you
Dusty.
guys. This is an important question.
Are you saying the other ones weren't?
No, this is way more important because I think it's comical.
The look on his face. He was so annoyed. No.
Listen, you're asking about bodybuilding. This guy wants to know the strategy to get sex.
Huh.
Oh. Strategy to get sex.
Yes.
I don't know. You just sort of go be around women and they throw sex at you. Isn't
That's Ron's skills right there. That's his strategy.
I don't know.
Well, that is true. You do have to be around women. So that is a start, right?
Step one.
Isn't it? Don't you just send them messages like, hey, what's up?
Yeah.
Isn't that how you just, hey, what's up? And then they
Would you just like 3 pictures and wait for things?
yeah,
to happen?
you could like 3 pictures and then they just send you naked shots. I thought that was
That was how it worked.
culture. I don't know. Yeah.
I love these because I read that and I'm like, nobody has a, like, no one says like, all right, go, time to go to phase C of the deal closing.
Yeah. Yeah. My take is if you need a strategy, you're not going after the right girls.
Huh.
I don't know. Right?
There's that.
The girls.
I think.
Yeah,
I
well,
think you also gotta
Dusty's like-
factor in,
Dusty's like, well, if you don't want to lie to them, then yeah, you could try just being yourself.
I would never recommend being yourself. That's terrible advice. This is not going to get it done for you. No, you know what's crazy though is I am blown away because I get these questions a ton, and I'm like, shouldn't you just act normal and eventually something will come along? But I do think that what you said, Ron, is what people do. Like, I'm blown away even on my Instagram where not even sexually. Someone will just shoot you a DM and they go, hey, what's up? I'm like, who has time for that? What do you mean, what's up? Fuck off. Block. like, if you have a question, fire the question immediately. I'll answer it.
Fucking busy.
What's up?
You just respond with that.
I send back my cholesterol and I delete them. I mean, like,
Yeah. Well, you know, I don't know. Hey, my advice to everyone out there now is, you know, before you start banging people, check their investment portfolio.
same thing with dating. That's the first thing. When you sit down at a table, be like, I'd like to see your FICO, please.
Can I at least see your credit card debt? I just need at least to know how much debt you're carrying right now.
Now, is that just I got a question. Is that to judge their character, or is it to judge what you're getting into?
That's in case the sex is so good that you wind up engaging in a long-term relationship with them.
Okay.
That may result in financial consequences.
So you still could have sex, but you just have to know what you got to set your mindset going into it based off of that. You're telling me.
You just have to know that this will be a 1 or 2 or 3 time thing.
Okay.
But there's
He's not at all saying you don't get to still have sex. That's a silly response.
Yeah.
In fact, if it's really messed up, it'll probably be really good sex.
Well, just think if you know, let's say you knew a girl was like $100K in debt and had no assets and was terrible with money and had like looming credit card bills and had bad credit and couldn't rent a place. You're less likely to let yourself like fall for her after one session.
Yeah.
You know what that tells me about Ron is there's not really a lot of conversation at dinner, because I would usually be able to figure out someone who's 100K in debt is brainless during our
Well, I'm
Can
not
we
saying
skip
these
dessert?
things aren't
Because if I
obvious.
keep speaking to you, I'm not going to go home with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. There you go, Dusty. You're clued in.
All right.
You know the deal.
I like that.
That's
Like,
great.
if this doesn't, if we decide to not do It's Just Bodybuilding anymore, you guys could just host like a relationship and love podcast.
Another thing too, I can't imagine, I've been single for 10 years, but I can't imagine now there's a website for everything. So let's say you're just like super into feet.
Oh yeah.
You just go on a feet website and just say, I'm looking for girls that like feet fetishes, and then let's just see how it goes. And then you're just like, can skip all the worrying if they're into your shit stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was a radio show I was listening to, and this guy called in saying that he wasn't getting any action on Tinder. And the advice he was given was just to tell the girls what he was into. And it was like, hey, I want a chick that I can dominate or whatever. And he put that in his thing, and he said all of a sudden, boom, boom, boom. He just had to say what he wanted. When he was just like, hey, I'm a nice guy, I want to hang out. And he was like kind of beating around the bush.
That's all we're here for.
Yeah. But he was like, hey, this is what I'm looking for. Girls were like, all right, and signed right up.
That's fantastic.
That's the beauty. The beauty of being single nowadays is that you could just literally be like, I want this, this, and this, and this is an absolute fucking deal breaker. Boom.
Yeah.
And then like 3 days later, notification.
I didn't realize how normal that was, though. I have a friend, and she was like, oh, I met a new guy. And I go, oh, how'd you meet him? She goes, how does anyone meet anybody? I'm like, the gym?
Gym?
Yeah.
And she sends back, Bumble. I was like, what? What is Bumble? Apparently it's a thing. I was like, oh, I had no idea. So it's like Instagram, only more direct.
I think Bumble is the one where only the girl can initiate contact.
Yes.
Oh.
So you can match up with each other. I don't know. I think you can like them and stuff, but they're the ones who can message you. You can't message them and bother them or something. I think that's the one.
That is the one. Yeah. I had a girl tell me when I was single, tell me to sign up for that. She was like, oh yeah, sign up for that and I'll message you. And then she told me what it was about, and I didn't sign up for it, and I didn't message her. So there was that.
That sounds like a hassle to me. That's all I think of.
Check your boxes.
If you don't cross my path naturally, it's not going to happen. That sounds like effort. It's like looking for debt. No, thank you.
I'll tell you guys the story. It was a weird day. My friend has a gym. It was New Year's Eve. I was recently single, and I came up and he was like, hey, we're going to have a party at the gym. It starts at like 6 p.m. He was like, there's going to be food and drinks, and you can work out. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, I'll go up there and I'll work out. So I was literally lifting, and he had these new dumbbells. They went up to 150 pounds, like all into 5 pounds, and then down to the 2.5 increments. And I come in there like ready to train back, ready to kill some shit. It turned out I was the only person working out. Everybody else was like drinking and eating food. And these two women in dresses, like they were wearing like their New Year's Eve dresses, came over and they're talking to me. I was like at the time like all veiny and like covered in sweat. And the one was obviously interested, and she told me about Bumble, and I was like, oh yeah, okay, and I just didn't do it. I wasn't interested, but yeah, it was a really weird thing to be like in the gym being hit on. I wasn't really interested, and what I was interested in was getting back to that, because I had to do my other arm on the dumbbell rows. Still,
she interrupted. You're fucking everything up, woman.
Yeah.
It's like you're not even interrupting me between sets. You're interrupting me intra-set. I've done
I was
one
switching
arm.
hands.
Yeah.
That's how.
Like,
That's why
I
you weren't interested.
hate you.
I was still flattered, you know. It was still like because I was recently out of a relationship, so it was like definitely like, hey, I still got it, you know.
I'm so angry with you, I can't fuck you.
All I would think about the whole time is that left arm was not treated the same way.
She couldn't even tell. She couldn't even tell I'd only done one arm. She was fucking watching me. How dumb is she? Just ruthless.
I love though that Scott, that you went to the party knowing full well that you were like, well, the gym's open and no one's there, so I'm just going to train. Like you literally walked right past everyone when you walked in.
Yeah, I had my
They're all
bag.
eating hors d'oeuvres. They're eating hors d'oeuvres off of trays.
And I'm like in sweats with my bag, and I got my straps out, you know.
Some guys offering you champagne as you walk. No, fuck off.
That's pretty funny. That's pretty funny.
That is a great story, Scott. I love that shit.
Yes.
Oh
Okay. See another one, Dusty.
Donna's pissed off. Sorry. 1 second. Donna, relax.
I can hear the growl. That's fierce.
Yeah. Well, she's 6 pounds now, so ever since she hit that full 6, she's gotten a little bit out of control.
She's throwing it around.
A little bit out of control.
Throwing around attitude.
Oh, that's a good question. Doesn't really fit. I'm going to ask anyways. Is there anything better than a line brawl, including goalies, in a hockey game?
It's a special moment, Dusty. As a Canadian,
Thank you.
I have to say that a good line brawl when I was a kid would get everyone together around the TV.
Oh, yeah.
And then they'd show, they used to show the whole brawl on the sports highlights back before they cut away from the fighting, remember?
Yeah, everything in pussy sport, yes.
Yeah, it was always really, really well received. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And especially appreciated in international hockey.
I
when
used to
it's
love
country
watching
versus
the
country.
goalies, you know?
Yeah, yeah. I like when the goalies like kind of take a minute to realize there's a line brawl occurring, and they're like, okay, and they sort of look to each other and they skate to mid ice.
Oh, yeah.
That's always like the interesting little dance, right?
Yeah, we had one when I was playing juniors, and it was funny to watch because I was in the middle of it, so I didn't see. But then there was video of it after the fact, and our goalie like calmly just turned around. He put his stick down, he took his glove off, took his blocker off, turned the helmet, put it on the top properly, and then turned and just threw the hand in the air. This is what's about to happen. I thought it was the greatest thing. I'm like, you stole the show with what you did before the fight. Just all right, let's
There's
put our
some
stuff
great
up
YouTube
nicely.
videos of goalie fights. Yeah. And it's funny because isn't there a Netflix special right now on like that fight that happened in that basketball game? Remember there was that brawl and they went up into the stands. It was like the Pistons versus somebody. It's like a famous dark watch on basketball, you know? And there's a Netflix documentary on that event.
Right.
And it's funny because that like used to happen in hockey all the time.
Yeah, I was gonna say we don't like blink. We're like, oh yeah, that happens.
Guys reach over the glass, punch a fan. Poof. I mean, how many times did that happen in the fucking 50s and 60s?
Wasn't it? Was it Ty Domi that someone was hanging over the penalty box?
Pulled him into the penalty box,
and he pulled him down into the penalty box.
Pulled him in.
With him.
Oh yeah!
Oh my god!
The guy dumped water on him. He was dumping water on Ty Domi, and he fucking reached up and pulled him right into the penalty box.
Damn!
He's still wearing his skates too, right? So he's standing there in skates.
No longer on ice. Yeah, that's classic.
I feel like people need to do that more often nowadays in life. You know what I'm saying? Like I feel like society might be a little bit better if they knew that might happen to them. That some hockey player 100%. Might grab them and just start pummeling them if they make bad decisions. That'd be helpful in life.
There's something like the philosophical argument that the threat of violence is sometimes a necessary dynamic between men. Is interesting.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If there's always, because like, you know, like Jordan Peterson talks about that a lot. How one of the things that keeps men acting a certain way with each other is that there's always a threat of violence. Yeah, you know, evolutionary wise, historically, you know, there's always a threat. If you behave a certain way, another guy may punch you.
Yeah.
And it's sort of like kind of helps keep the peace to a certain degree.
It does.
And it's an interesting argument about whether it's like, you know, something that's part of the fabric or should, because, you know, if you completely remove it and make it so there's absolutely no threat, like, you know, so you can have a society where there's never any threat. How do they treat each other? What, you know, do they step on each other's rights more? Do they, you know, try to control one another more? You know,
I actually have an example of that. Okay. I'm going to get myself in some trouble here.
Yes.
So where I live, suburb of Detroit, in a decent area, not too far from me. Not too far from me. Pretty close. It's where I grew up, I'll put it that way. There's a level of lower economic white people.
It's rougher neighborhood.
Yeah, rougher neighborhood. And there is a certain type of person on the road that's a female from that lower economic area driving a real piece of shit minivan who can do whatever the hell she wants on the road. Giving everybody the finger, running up on people's bumpers, speeding, cutting you off. And the reason she can do it and scream at you, the reason she can do it is because there's no threat that somebody's going to get out of their car and punch her because she's a girl. And I got to say, man, this is where I'm going to get myself in some trouble. I kind of feel like some of those bitches need to be punched. Listen, I am not for violence in general and violence against women, of course, especially. But
right.
There's something going on there where they feel like there's certain people that I think feel like they're above the law. And I think it's because they know that nobody's going to hit them, really, honestly.
Have you? I was just searching for this for you guys.
That was really bad. I'm sorry.
No, there's. Hey, believe me, all the other women that woman encounters agree with you.
I think that one of them needs to step up to the plate. Then is what it comes down to. You know,
one of them has to do the job.
Yeah, because we can't. You know, that's
Yeah, we can't.
So here, this is something I read actually. There's a book. It's called "Violence is Golden" by this guy Jack Donovan, and this is a quote from it. It says, "Violence is the gold standard, the reserve that guarantees order. In actuality, it is better than the gold standard because violence has universal value. Violence transcends the quirks of philosophy, religion, technology, and culture. It's time to quit worrying and learn to love the battle axe. History teaches us that if we don't, someone else will." And that's about the most accurate thing with it because it's valid. You know, I think the only thing that changes, which I'm grateful of our age group, is you used to be able to get in a fist fight, hell, driving your car, and no one was going to shoot you. You know, nowadays everything is different. You know, I mean, I could never give the advice that I was given as a kid, sending a kid off to school. Now, you know, like my dad was like, "Oh, if someone crosses you, just punch them in the face." Okay, and that was fine. You know, and that lasted forever. Nowadays, it's like, we'll punch him in the face. You might even beat him in a fight, and then his cousin will kill you. Like, shoot you. You know,
and his parents will sue me.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, it is a scary change in how things work, though, because you could be the baddest man on the planet, and then someone's like, "All right, well, I'll just kill him then." That's fine. Like, it's shocking to me that people don't have they don't think about the consequence beyond an action when we're talking about even life and death. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just going to get my gun and shoot this guy. It's like, but everyone knows it was you.
Yeah.
And your whole life is over. And they're like, yeah, but I had to.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
That's one way to look at it, I guess.
That was a good one.
So that was a good
plus,
one.
I enjoyed Scott telling that story.
I like when he goes, "This is going to get me in trouble." I'm like, yes, this is what we need. Scott hasn't been in trouble in days.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, we're doing it. What is the first treat that someone should have when they get to Disney World?
The first treat?
Yes.
I'm out. I've never been there.
I assume you've headed straight to the Star Wars exhibition.
Exhibition?
Right. Well, the Star Wars World or whatever.
Okay, exhibit. But go
what do
ahead.
you call it? Exhibit. There you go.
But I think exhibition, I think it's someone's going to be naked and this is some sort of like, anyways.
Oh, really?
Exhibitionist.
Okay.
Anyways. All right, so they go to that, but they need a snack because they're so excited after it's done.
Well, I'm assuming
famished.
there's something Star Wars themed at the exhibit.
That's a snack.
Like there's got to be. Well, there's got to be a Star Wars cantina or something they could eat at.
So like a lightsaber that's a churro?
Something like that. Easily. Something. There's something like that. Star Wars treat.
Star Wars
That's what
treat.
I'd go with.
Scott, you just imagine any, because I think that Disney World sucks, but anyways, any great amusement park, what is your go-to treat?
Man, I haven't been to an amusement park in a long time. Never been to Disney World. I went to Disneyland when I was like 15. Man, I'll tell you what I would say is not a good treat, and I learned this the hard way. Do you guys ever see that? It's like a bag of little donuts. They're like these deep fried donuts. They had them at the mall by my house, and it was post-contest, and I got a bag of them. And after about 5 minutes, that bag is like clear nearly because it's like all covered in grease. They have these little deep fried donuts, and like 3 of them are probably like 30 grams of fat, but it's like a bag of 70 of them. You know, and you just eat that whole bag because you're like, oh, they're so good. They're so good. And then you regret it, and then you never want to eat them again, and you tell it on a podcast one day. So that's not those. Not
Scott's
those.
going to tell you what not to do.
Yeah, don't do that. Don't do that.
So what's the correct answer, Dusty? You seem to really be into this.
You got this.
No,
one.
I'm just saying, I'm excited by the options because I too have not been to an amusement park in a million years, and I'm, as is par for me, boring as shit. So, because I like basics, I like cotton candy. It's simple. You know what I mean?
I'd be an ice cream cone guy.
That sounds good too.
Nice. Yeah.
There you go.
In my brain, it's
you are in
always
Florida.
hot when you go to those places.
Yeah,
So
something cold.
valid.
That'd be good.
Valid. All right. Well, now he knows what not to do. I think your advice on what not to do is probably more valuable than what to do.
You got to watch
That's
out.
most of our advice is what not to do, Dusty.
Even when I'm telling someone what to do, they're like, don't
right.
do that. God,
We're shining examples of what not to do.
Someone's creating a playlist of all my advice so they can never do any of it.
700
Fantastic.
trend. 700 trend.
700 friends.
How to keep calm when anxious.
Oh.
My very good appetite goes away when I can't stay calm.
I got one. Can I throw it in?
Yes, absolutely.
Box breathing. Now, this is one that Victoria taught me. And I had a bunch of anxiety from COVID, so it's something I've had to work with. And then I realized, or I learned, that even Navy SEALs use this technique. She didn't sell me on it by telling me that, but there was like a website where I was reading, and it's real simple. Where you take, there's even you can look online at like the automated pictures, and it'll tell you breathe in for 4 seconds, hold your breath for 4 seconds, exhale for 4 seconds, hold your breath for 4 seconds, and it basically resets your sympathetic nervous system. So if you're feeling anxious, it'll kind of reprogram you. It's like a hard reset. So you can do it first thing in the morning when you wake up to give you like a reset for your day. And then if you're dealing with anxiety, you can do it on the spot. It gives you instant relief, but also it resets you so that you can continue on your day without having been still like triggered into that anxious state. The thing is like when I'm feeling that way, the last thing I want to do is do something that would actually change it. Like, I don't want to fucking breathe. You know what I mean? It's like,
Right.
yeah.
No, that's really interesting because and especially with a real case, because I think some people don't realize the difference between stress and anxiety. Because like I found when I was a couple of years ago when I was sick and had a bunch of issues with that, I didn't realize that anxiety could come out of fucking nowhere.
Yeah.
Like you could be watching TV and enjoying yourself and then just boom. Whereas before that I had learned I always had anxiety, like I'd be thinking about something and then I'd feel that. I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense. When I had real anxiety is when I realized like, holy shit, like I wasn't thinking about anything. I wasn't doing anything. In fact, I was happy. What the hell was that? So that's good advice, Scott. I never heard of that.
And it would work for either of those, you know, like Navy SEALs could use that. I mean, depending on how you could define anxiety as being under stress too, right? So you're getting ready to like go on
with you,
yeah, you're like, if you're getting ready to go out on a mission or something, you know, then the guys do box breathing before they go and do some badass shit.
Yeah, that totally makes sense, especially in those scenarios. It's like, well, we're going to kill or be killed. So yeah, it makes sense. I'd be a little anxious.
So it's like a way that you can take control over your body's response.
That's awesome.
There's also drugs, lots of drugs.
You know what's crazy? I mean, all kidding aside, so I tried some of those. The problem I ran into was it killed my edge.
Oh yeah,
and that did not work. I mean, like I function on that thing. Literally, I found out immediately. I was like, this is not going to work.
Yeah,
like you know what I mean. This is not medical advice, people. You do what you should do. But for me, that was a big issue. I was like, well, this won't work because now I'm gonna have real problems because I'm gonna like not make money because that's how I do it. Like I couldn't imagine going to the gym and just being like, all right, let's go.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's how I
calm.
I literally felt like mush. Like nothing could get me happy or sad. It was just, bleh, you know what I mean? Like baseline. So that didn't work for me. That box breathing sounds like a really cool option for people, for sure. Damn, Scott, you're on a fucking roll. Without you, we'd be shit.
We got to do one more.
Okay.
It's got to be a good one.
A while.
What the hell? Are you a fan of PWO? If so, what are you using at the moment? I fancy a change.
Pre-workout?
Pre-workout?
Is that what that is?
Yeah, pre-workout. Let's roll with that. Pre-workout.
All right. Pre-workout it is. Like, is that post or pre? But yes, we'll go with... Oh, fuck, it's all of them. It's all of them. Listen, you guys are going to need to help me on these. I suck at acronyms anyways, I've learned since I've been around kids. I'm like, fuck does that mean? All right, so we're going with pre-workout for the moment.
So Scott, PWO is different from POV.
I guess so.
Okay. Noted.
Okay, so Scott, what's your pre-workout?
L-carnitine right now. This is my new experiment. Speaking of not wanting to do everyday injections, check out Amino Asylum. Use our code THINK.
Nice.
I just started this. I don't know what to think about it yet. I've never used injectable L-carnitine because I've never wanted to deal with everyday shots of it. I don't know why I changed my mind, but I was hearing some people talk about how they loved L-carnitine, so I'm giving it a try. 400 milligrams is where I'm at right now. Outside of that, pre-workout with carbs. Yeah, I'm not using any exogenous insulin with it. I feel that my thought, at least for now, is that I'll get an insulin spike from the carbs that I eat, and then maybe some type of. I'll take like a standard pre-workout. I'm just getting back into it because being sick, I didn't really post after that. I didn't need anything, but I'm using Outlast, which is or Outlift. Outlift, and it's I think it's like NutriBio maybe. I'm totally making that up, but it's good. It's an effervescent, all-in-one type pre-workout. So you get like 6 grams of citrulline with it, which is a good dose, beta-alanine, all that other stuff. But because it has like 350 caffeine in it, I only want a half a serving. So I'll take a half a serving with that, and then I use my True Nutrition citrulline, and I'll boost that up to like 8 grams. Yeah.
Yep.
I like doing that. I always kind of doctor up whatever pre-workout I use, if I use a pre-workout. But generally, I'll use like a half a scoop. And as long as it has caffeine in it, and then I have my True Nutrition stuff that I add to it to get it where I want it, then I like that. But yeah, I'm finding it's good, man. It gives me a little bit of energy, a little bit of focus that I need right now.
How far before taking that do you eat?
Probably 30 minutes.
Okay, so you got a pretty tight window. So you eat and then train about 45 minutes to an hour afterwards?
Lately it's been about 30, 40 minutes. I'll eat.
Oh, wow.
And it's not a big meal. And then I'll get right in the gym because I'm just right here, you know. So it's all kind of like, and it, you know, my windows are tight anyway, just like trying to, like I trained before we did the show, took a bunch of caffeine. Right. That's why I'm talking a lot.
Right.
I like it. The caffeine version of you is good. Keep taking that Outlast. What about you, Ron?
I don't drink much pre-workout. I do occasionally have a half a scoop of Madness because obviously I've always got a jar with me in my gym bag and stuff. So that's a 300 milligram caffeine. So I'll do a half a scoop, but that's my max. I normally take a caffeine pill,
right,
and then my stomach is just, it doesn't really like a whole bunch of shit pre-workout. So quite often I have a caffeine pill and a serving of Mutant Pump, which is like a capsule pump formula. So I'll take a caffeine pill and a serving of Mutant Pump. And then while I'm training, I drink like 30 grams of EAAs, like a lot of EAAs, 2 big scoops. And I also put like a bunch of salt. I grind some salt into my jug.
Nice.
It's like a big 2-liter jug that I drink out of too. So it's not like super sweet. It's 30 grams of EAAs and like 2 liters of water.
Right.
And I often don't finish the whole drink. That's a lot of fluid, right? I'll finish it like after I train. I'll keep drinking it for a bit and rehydrate and everything. So I'm not using a ton of stuff right now. I'm just keeping it simple. My stomach feels great. I look good. I feel good in the gym. You know,
no barfing.
I like it. No, I haven't thrown up for a long time. It's been pretty good.
I blame the bike. It is the bike.
Yeah, I'm more fit. I'm lighter and more fit.
What about you, Dusty?
You know, it's crazy, and I didn't used to do a lot of pre-workouts, but then when I got with Condemn, that was their big push, was like our pre-workouts the best. And so before I signed with them, they sent me everything, and I used 1 scoop because I'm the same as Ron. Like I can't, if I get overly amped up, I get nauseous. So I took it out the gate, and the big plus with their Convict is that it's very light in flavor, which is key for me. I can't be like burping stuff up. So now it's funny, but I'm like pre-workout guy. Like last week, I was doing it's almost habit now. Like it's funny, but I was doing my cruise workouts, and I was joking to myself as I was taking 2 scoops of Convict to go do a 30-minute pump workout. But I'm like, it's like driving to the gym. I have to do this to get there, you know?
So what's the caffeine on that?
It's actually not a crazy high caffeine, and I'd have to look, but they have an ingredient that is like NDMA, so it's got for the mental focus, and that I really like.
Wait, did you say MDMA?
Yeah, what is it? No, it's DMA, right? Yeah, MDMA is DMSO, right? Jesus. Now I'm drinking this shit. But that stuff has actually been really good. And then like you, Ron, I've always liked the pump products. So they have a capsule version too, the DNA Dispatch, that's good. And then during the training, to me, I have to credit John. After John Meadows was on our podcast, I got back to doing intras again. And I'm weird, but with clients, I do not put supplements in their programs, particularly supplements from my sponsor, because I don't want them to feel like I'm selling them one more thing.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
But now I have started to say, hey, I think you guys should try this, and you don't have to. And if you want to get another brand, go ahead. But they have a C block, which is a pea carbohydrate that I've found not a single person I know has any bloating issues when they're training with it. So I take 20 grams of carbs from that, and then 20 grams of EAAs, Ron. So same, just 2 scoops of that. And I found today is the first time now that my volume's a little bit higher on JP's program that I'm going to need 2 shaker cups full, because I was done with I was done with the drink and like 3/4 of the way done with the workout. I'm like, oh shit.
Oh yeah. Okay.
This doesn't happen to me like with my low volume. I've got like half of it left when I'm walking out of the gym. But that is something, and we'll see, you know, I'm going to report back, but I can tell the workouts can go forever when I take the intra. But I'm excited to see if I notice what everyone talked about and what John told us, which was the recovery.
Yes.
Because I'll be curious to see how sore, if the soreness is less. Because the volume's a lot higher. Like, I left the gym today, and I'm like, I'm fucked. And it was a push day. And I'm like, This might hurt for a couple weeks, so I'm really hoping that I get the same deal that John did, because when he was talking about how, I hadn't been sore in years, I was like, fuck, I'm sore every day.
I think it makes a difference. I do. I think it makes a difference.
It's nice when it comes from a guy like John, though, because I'm like, I'm not training harder than him, so this is a fact. So yeah, these things, that's why I like it's a good question, because to be honest, I think pre-workouts, it's you can do it or not.
Yeah.
If I could go back in time and I knew, I'd started using them, I think my workouts would have been even better. Like something you should, try adding some carbs in with your drink. And I do the same with you, Ron. I do 4 twists of my salt shaker blender thing right in the cup every time. Not even really enough to taste it, but enough to change. Don't come in my front door. They will attack. That's like, what is that? That's 16 pounds of terror. So
I think
2 dogs.
I think one of the things, as far as getting a really good pump, I always inadvertently focused on making sure I got a good pump. Like I remember some of the old school guys would tell me like, hey, on your pre-workout meal, use a lot of teriyaki sauce or a lot of salt.
Yeah.
Like they didn't explain why. They didn't understand.
They just told you
the sodium potassium pump, and they didn't understand blood pressure regulation, and they just said use a lot of salt on your pre-workout meal. So I remember for years, like 3 years in a row, I went to the mall before I trained, and I'd have Ito Japan, which is like a teriyaki place, right?
Nice.
I'd go get a big plate of Ito Japan and sit in the mall and bullshit with some guys, and then just walk across the street to the gym and train, and you drink like a giant fucking diet soda while you're there, so you're full of fluid and salt.
That fluid is the key.
Fluid and salt's the key, right? And you walk into the gym and get a crazy pump, and then so I was always just a little bit jaded when people would be like, this stuff gives you a good pump. I'm like, I get fucking sick pumps all the time, like I always did, So I never felt like as eager about pump stuff, because I was like, I always get good pumps.
Yeah.
And now I look back on it and I was like, oh, it was a good advice I was given without really realizing it.
I think for me with pre-workout, I get this like psychological, like Pavlov's dog thing, where the beta alanine tingle that you can get in your skin. I feel that, and I know like, yep, it's on. Now it's time.
Yep.
The Viagra's hitting.
Yeah.
That's valid, though. I think that it's funny you said that, Scott, because that's something I've been working with some of my more advanced clients on, is having a system of what they do before the gym. And I'm not talking about focusing and thinking about, I'm just talking about the same thing over and over.
Yeah.
Because your body starts to realize like, okay, after we do this, we go to work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's a lot more valuable than people think. It's just habit. And I'm like, no, it's creating something. If you have that same system over and over, and it doesn't have to be as in depth as, sitting in the parking lot, jamming music and reading your workout. It's just a system. I'm the same way. Like my pre-workout routine is identical every single day.
I bet it is.
Being 10 minutes late. But it is. It's hugely valuable no matter what it is. I've had a lot of guys that literally just, as soon as they added that tweak, they're like, man, my training changed. Because they just like roll to the gym, like after work, or they'd still be on a work call when they get there. And I'm like, well, you're not really there.
Yeah. And the early morning people especially have to make sure they're hydrated.
Yes.
I mean, the second they wake up, they should pound like a liter of fluid with some salt in it.
I'd agree.
And when some aminos in it, and just get their bloodstream back up to par for a workout. Because, most people who train super early, they train, within 45 minutes of waking up.
Yeah.
So they should get that in as soon as possible. Like you open your eyes and you pound a liter of fluid, and then you pee.
Yeah. Evan Centopani was big on, and I took that on because I used to train in the morning. You don't realize that you're missing something, because I still had good workouts. And then he made a mention of that. I mean, this was shit. I mean, I'm into my career at this point and just started making that tweak. Exactly what you said, Ron. I would get up, walk straight to the kitchen. I did aminos. I did branch chains at the time. I'd do 10 grams of branch chains with salt and just slam it. just stand in my kitchen, slam the whole thing, and then start moving. Like I didn't even brush my teeth yet. Like that was just the routine.
Yep.
And the training was immediately different. You know, hydrated muscle. Who would have known?
Yeah.
Well, you drink a liter of water and you're 2 pounds heavier. 2.2 pounds heavier right off the bat. And it's all fluid and it's all going to wind up in your bloodstream and in your muscles. So you technically gain like 2 pounds of muscle volume by hydrating
instantly.
Yourself. You know, and then you go to the gym and train. Of course, things are better.
Yeah. Not shocking, but a lot of people don't do it, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we've been pretty much been 2 hours, guys.
Damn.
Aside
Nice.
from losing Dusty a few times, so I have to edit those out. But not a hard week of work for you ahead, Scott.
No.
Not bad.
No, we've had
Didn't have
worse.
to chop out any terrible shit. That was awesome. Hey? Yeah. Scott's like, I can't believe it. I don't even have to touch this one.
Yeah.
Yeah. People would be shocked when most of our episodes are 3 hours long and they keep getting cut to like 140.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I had one guy who goes, you keep saying, well, we've been on for 2 hours and the episode's an hour, like hour 35. And I'm like, oh, yeah, that's good. That Scott had to edit it.
Sometimes, you know what it is, though, is like you'll count the time we've actually been connected, but we didn't actually hit the button, you know, for, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. We try to shorten that. We try to get everything on camera.
We do, yes.
Okay. Well, remember, like, share, subscribe, comment.
Ring the bell.
Ring the bell.
Got it. You gotta, like,
we appreciate
pros at that.
everybody. And remember, you last 5-minuters, ask us questions in the YouTube. We like that. I like that Scott brings some questions and puts them up on the screen. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. We'll keep doing that then. Yeah. And, I got to say, too, thank you, everybody, for the birthday wishes. I appreciate that.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, that was fun.
Nice.
That was fun.
It was fun.
How old are you, by the way, Scott?
Don't ask. 26.
Easily.
I got one coming up in a month.
Yeah? What does that make you, like your astrological sign?
I'm a Libra.
Libra. Okay. Huh.
Yeah.
All right. I'm a
We
Virgo.
always want everybody to get along, apparently.
Oh, yeah.
He's Canadian. That's all of you.
That's, yeah.
Whole country born in October. Okay.
Awesome.
Sounds good, guys. Thanks, everybody. And remember, it's just bodybuilding.